As a Superliminal Speedrun verifier, I've seen a lot of runs from all skill levels of players. And even though my video tutorials cover a lot of the basics of what to do, I do miss a few pointers of what not to do. Whether you're just aiming for the sub 30 achievement or trying to get involved with speedrunning, this video will show tips and tricks to help you get started. By the way, this video is assuming you've already seen my tutorial, so if I mention anything unfamiliar, check it out. It's linked in the description below. For the first cheese in induction, after resizing the cheese in the doorway, if you just pivot and place, then the cheese gets really small. Instead, step into the room a little bit until the lighting on the cheese shows that it's actually filling up the room. Instead of fumbling with the cheese at the end of induction, use the new strat called Dairy Free, which involves jumping on the far corner of the button and pushing the wall over as it starts to lean. Note that this doesn't work on console unless it's a PS5 or Xbox Series X or S. For the optical sign, try to follow the route in the tutorial closely, or at least resize by walking towards the sign on the floor. If you try to resize on the ceiling, the random supports can mess it up and slow you down. This is a big one, since a lot of new runners struggle with box jumps. If you find that the box is shrinking, that can mean one of two things. Either your timing is off, or you're too close to the wall. For timing, you want to click right after jumping, and then click again at the top of the jump. Just remember, jump, click, click. If you're too close to the wall, then it has nowhere to grow. Stay close to the middle of the room for the best results. If you don't like box jumping and want to keep it simple using the intended solution, that's okay. Just remember to rotate the stairs cube around to get the most out of it. I've seen too many people try to jump on the wrong side. For the moon and optical, it's actually best to leave it far away, near the window. If you bring it close, the moon is really small and the door will be hard to pick off. Drop it near the ceiling so that you can rotate it for the door to be sticking out as much as possible. Then you can grab it and move on. For this room in Cubism, most top runs use an old patch of the game that allows the side cube to stay vertical. If you're on a modern version, I have a video explaining the best ways to complete this room. Falling in this pit happens to everyone, but you can make it more consistent by jumping from the right side of the planks where it looks like it's sticking out a little bit. Don't forget that you can jump higher at 60 FPS as well. This green apple is the source of a lot of headache, so I'll go over each problem that you might be running into. First, if you release the apple too close, it's really small and doesn't have much pushing power. Release a couple steps away. Second, don't push the green apple head-on from the entrance. Take a slightly angled path so that it doesn't push into the way of the door and get stuck. Third, if you use a method that makes a huge apple, or the cloned apple lands on the button, don't forget to right-click to return immediately so that the door stays open. Dollhouse is all about getting the right portal size, and usually having a small door size is better. However, with this first Dollhouse door, you don't ever want to squeeze through, otherwise you won't be able to leave the other side. If you squeeze, just back out and resize. Another common issue with this first Dollhouse, as well as with the last Dollhouse, is that its door can get caught in your surroundings. If you try to resize near other objects, the Dollhouse might not grow at all. An easy fix for this is to do the first resize directly behind yourself so that there's plenty of room for it to grow while your back is to the table. This fan room often loses runners way more time than they think. Regardless of how you resize the fan, it's important to understand where exactly it's blowing. Besides grabbable lights, this is the only object with physical properties while you're holding it. Make it large, hold it in the back of the room, and rotate it until you see movement in the tower. Trying to blow from the left or the right is difficult because it needs to be at the right depth in the room for it to work. In the final green room with the two portals, I cannot emphasize this enough, leave the left portal alone. It's perfectly your size and should stay that way. Use the portal on the right for whichever strat you prefer. It's already small and prevents the need for multiple grabs. The second audio skip uses a large can to get on top of the speaker, and you can either have the can face vertically or horizontally. I personally prefer horizontally because an issue can happen when resizing straight forward if your angle is too extreme. Take care that the can doesn't intersect with the ground too low, since that can cause the can to get really small out of nowhere. This painting is a source of frustration to a lot of players who don't fully understand the resize mechanics, and will resize it on the ceiling not knowing why it's not growing. If you're resizing out in the hallway, resize it from the ground until it seems to fill the hallway. Also, you can learn the frame perfect trick for an easier time. One of the most common things that's asked about in the speedrun Discord is why the reticle disappears in whitespace. When you click the light switch, it disappears to mimic a loading screen, and the trigger for it to return is to look outside of a certain area on the wall or floor. If you just back up and leave the room without moving your camera, it's gone until you reset checkpoint. So either move your camera a little, turn around, or reset checkpoint when you hit the next one so that you can keep the reticle for the rest of the game. For this last puzzle room, if you're using cheese skip and struggling with the cube shrinking, go back to my box jumping advice in optical. There's actually a checkpoint that barely sticks out of this door, slightly below the bottom. If you happen to jump towards the door and barely miss it, check to see if you hit the checkpoint and reset if you did. It will put you right through and on the way to the end. Finally, whatever you do, don't drop this last cube. It's okay to resize it a little bit, but maintain control of it no matter what. If you land on it somehow, it will delay the ends trigger without you realizing it, and you may lose your PB because of that. So don't let go and save your clicking for retrospect. So there you have it. Hopefully this helps you get started on your Superliminal speedrun journey. As always, if you have any questions, or if you think I missed something, feel free to leave a comment or join the Superliminal Speedrun Discord linked below. Also, I left out some things that apply to the whole game or speedrunning in general. If you want me to make a video for those tips, leave a comment and let me know. See you next time!